People literally are moved to donate to us as God decides we need the money. She retired and the board asked me to take over, and I realized about a year in that all the strands that I had worked on in my life had all come together. When she got to that age, I thought she just could use some extra instruction in that area because she was talented. She was an artistic person.
Hi, welcome back to the Ordinary Brave podcast, where ordinary people live out their lives with extraordinary courage and faith. And we're so glad to have you today with this episode. And let me go ahead and emphasize that word episode, because there is nothing like being told by your teenagers that you're pronouncing words wrong or they sound weird. So they kept telling me after the other podcast that I was saying episode with an episode, almost with an ass sound. So I want to make sure I'm saying episode. But today's episode is going to be special as I have one of my awesome friends here, Tabitha Merritt, who is the director of Peachtree Learning Center, and she is just pouring into and encouraging young learners here in our town, and we're going to hear more about her story. Hi, Tabitha.
Hi, thank you for letting me come on.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
So tell me, just for our listeners and the ones that are viewing online that may not know you well, why don't you give us just a little bit of your background and how you've come to this area? And
my husband and I moved here when he was finished with professional school in 1995, and we knew we wanted to move to a small town, and Sparta was actually not too far from his parents and my parents, so we landed in Sparta. And never, I always imagined going back to work when my kids went to school and having this life all planned out. And God just had totally different plans. So I laid all of that down when we figured out we were going to homeschool. And then when my younger daughter was 11, I was loving homeschooling, completely immersed in that. But I decided to let her take a drawing class, I think it was, at Peachtree Learning Center. And it had been Friday school for a long time. It was a ministry of a church here called New Covenant. But when she got to that age, I thought she just could use some extra instruction in that area because she was talented. She was an artistic person. But in that process, I did not have any idea that God was going to use that to move our entire family into a new era, because he also brought a music camp that summer called the Fine Arts Summer Festival, which has changed its name now to the Annie Moses Summer Music Festival. And so we had both of those entities speaking into our family about the need for excellence and purity and goodness and truth in the arts. And so on both of those levels, we got really invested in that vision. And as my daughters grew, I started teaching with them at Peachtree. So I taught music classes with them. I was an aide in American Girl class. Shoni Smith was the director, and she was the founder of Peachtree. And she just kept kind of weaving us into different things. And I would also basically sit at her feet for hours because I was so drawn to her vision for art and drama and music, and her vision for redeeming those spaces and sending young people out with an idea of what truth and beauty was, and at least being able to consume it well or understand it enough to know the difference between beauty and junk.
yeah.
And then I ended up on the board. And then when she decided to retire, my younger daughter had just graduated high school, and I was wondering what I was going to do when I grew up. And she retired and the board asked me to take over. And I realized about a year in that all the strands that I had worked on in my life had all come together, because I started off as a music major in college. I went to college on a voice scholarship, but halfway through decided to switch to business. And so I have a background in accounting, and I worked in public accounting for several years. I was an auditor, worked in tax, did all the things. And it just dawned on me that all of those strands had come back together, and that he'd woven this whole thing around this 20-year gap where I just took the time to raise my family and be present with them, that he had woven all that back together. So I have not wasted a thing. And that was such a sweet, redemptive thought, because I felt like for a while that I had this training, but I don't need it, and it's okay kind of thing. And he's using every bit of it.
Yes.
So I'm so grateful.
Well, the Peachtree Learning Center is just an amazing place. And as someone who grew up in the arts, and you may know that I grew up with learning disabilities and really struggled in school, and the arts was such an outlet for me. I was very fortunate in our public schools, which is where I attended. We had an arts program where you could go half a day to the art school and then the other half a day to regular school. So for me, that half a day was like heaven.
Yes.
And then the rest of the day was very hard and difficult.
Yeah.
But the Lord just used the arts to really just give me an outlet and to encourage me. But how awesome would it have been to have an outlet also that
Yeah.
involved the Lord and
Right.
using your craft to worship Him.
Yes.
And when we moved to Cookeville, and I saw things like the Center Dance and also the Peachtree Learning Center, I was just so blown away and at how good God is to provide
Yes.
those outlets for children to be able
Yeah.
to use their craft and learn how to use it for the Lord. And it's just such an amazing ministry that
It
you
is
all
such a
have.
sweet thing. They both of those actually came out of the same church. The New Covenant Church was kind of the genesis for so many things that are still here as separate entities now that bless the community. I'm in awe of just the way the people that were in that church really listened to the Lord and pressed into His heart, and then all went and did different things and added aspects to this community that are still just reaping such fruit.
Sure. And I would think that it might have been hard.
I would think it would have
You
been
know, the
terribly
arts
hard.
are always, even in the secular world, it's always like it seems like they're pushed to the side or not funded as much and not as valued as much. So I even imagine maybe in the Christian
Oh, it's worse.
world
I'm
that it
sure.
was harder. Yeah.
Well, and honestly, we're kind of an anomaly because we're a totally self-funded 501c3. So we don't have any grants, we don't have any outside funding. People literally are moved to donate to us as God decides we need the money. So we don't plan big expenditures unless He brings us that, or if we have an emergency and we pray about it, He literally has people walk in the door with the money. So we literally exist by the grace of God, and we know we're completely dependent on His pleasure. So it's freeing in a way because I don't have a big 5-year plan of where we're going to go. I had no idea. Since 2020, Peachtree's population has doubled.
Wow.
And literally in 2020, in that spring, I was on the floor with my hands up going, this is your work. If it's over, it's over. Blessed be the name of the Lord. I have no vested ego in this. This is yours. And then from there, we've literally doubled in size, which, means we're paying our teachers better. And it means we've bought a second building, which is still hard to even say out loud, but we have a second location in Sparta. And both of them are those really old, gorgeous church buildings that need maintenance. And so there's always something waiting to be fixed until He decides we need it fixed. So if we don't have it fixed, it's because He hasn't brought people to give us the money, but we don't have any. Our board is very unified in the vision of just letting Him provide as he deems necessary. So that's been very, as I rest in that, it's been very freeing to just let Him do what He wants to do, and literally feel like I'm a steward, just stewarding what He wants to do. So.
Well, I was just in your building last week, and it just was so tender and sweet. To me, it was like coming home. I don't know. It just has that feeling. Well, for me, I don't live near my family.
Right.
So when I go home and I just have that there's just this sweetness here. And you were sitting in your office, and I don't think you had a moment's rest because every child, parent, was walking in just to say hello to you or to show you something or to share something with you. And I just thought, I love this. She's kind of like, like the matriarch of this whole family. It's just so sweet.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
I absolutely love getting to know those families and getting to know the kids, really. 2 years ago, we had a really tragic instance happen in our family. And I don't even know how this little girl knew, but this little 2-year-old girl, the first day I was back, started coming into my office and sitting in my lap. She just walked in and hugged me. And I barely knew her name because she wasn't a student yet. Her sisters I knew. And she just walked in and crawled up in my lap and started hugging me. And she did that for a year, that entire school year, every week.
And she just filled you up.
I was so grateful that God, he's so present there that I think people feel promptings from Him to be kind and loving. And it is a community for sure. I think participating in creative pursuits really bonds us on deeper levels than work or productivity or things like that. I think there's something special about making music together or creating art together in the same space that's really, in a spiritual way, very bonding. So I think there's a lot of that on display all day, every day, which I love.
Now, you all primarily serve homeschool families. Are you reaching other families as well? Because I know you have afternoon classes.
We do. Yeah, we have quite a few students come after school from the public schools and from the private schools. And New Colossus is a 2-day tutorial. A lot of kids come after that on Mondays and Thursdays. So we've added drama. Our orchestra and choir both happen in after school hours. So if people want to come, they can. It's primarily homeschool, but But we do have.
And another, I mean, we've talked a lot about the arts, but you all also offer academic courses.
We do, yeah, for homeschoolers. During the day on Mondays, we offer just one-off a la carte classes. If somebody has a topic my mom doesn't want to have to dig out a curriculum for, or I think if you want your child to have some outside accountability and learn how to report to somebody else with assignments, we're a good resource for that. We don't issue grades because we're not a school, but our teachers do issue suggested grades and feedback on how your student's doing. So that's a support more than anything. I think it's a support for homeschool moms who just don't want to have to deal with calculus or high school literature and come up with a reading list. We have really great teachers, and the teachers that we have on staff honestly are really they're there because they want to work in this environment, and also because they could use the money. Like they love to teach, but also this is a great steady income stream for creative adults. So we've got our literature teacher is actually a screenwriter, and he's written scripts, and he's done lots of work in the theater realm, and this is kind of just a steady income for him, but he's also a great teacher.
I
and
hear
he
his
loves
students talk about him a lot.
Him.
I know you're talking about Mr. Rexford.
Yep, he's great.
And
we have several of those.
Yes, we have lots of, I hear lots of great comments about him at Peachtree.
And our music faculty are performing faculty. They're mostly out performing or doing other things too that are creative. And Lori Vaughn is our main art teacher in drama. She's still creating her own art and doing her own thing. So I love that we have people that are still pursuing those creative things themselves and also able to turn around and pour it out.
Well, speaking of some of your adults also being professionals and performing out in the community, I think both of your daughters are doing that. I think I saw one perform in New York last year.
Yeah,
was that right?
Sarah's my daughter. Yes, she's our violin teacher. She has our string orchestra she started back right at the end of high school. I helped her start that. She's performed on Carnegie Hall a couple times. She's going to Lincoln Center in the spring. She's gotten to play behind some really magnificent, beautiful.
Well, I love to watch her
artists.
perform. You can just tell it is straight from her heart.
It is.
And your other daughter, she leads and teaches. I believe
she leads and
I've
teaches.
seen her.
She's a singer. So they had a band. They have an EP. They've done several music videos. And then she has a photography business, and she's written. They wrote all the songs on their EP. She's a pretty creative girl. So they've each got several different creative things that they like to do. And I mean, as a mom, when they were in high school, my whole trajectory had been to get them to college. How am I going to get them into those dual enrollment classes and get them ready for college? And when they got to high school, both of them each, we realized at home that was probably not the trajectory they were going to take. And they were already studying with a conservatory in Franklin, the Annie Moses Band, who had done the music camp we did. And so Sarah was one of Annie's very first students. And Annie went to Juilliard and looked at the top of the ladder and said, I don't want that. I want to go do something for the Lord. And so she and her family started the band. And so Sarah was one of her first students. And I just imbibed all the things that she had to say about creativity and being a Christian in that space. And she was such a good teacher. And Sarah just sucked in all the training on her violin, but also how to live your life this way. And that was what she was supposed to do. She was not supposed to go to college and have the traditional trajectory. So it's hard to step outside the boundaries of what you think is normal.
Sure.
But now looking back, I kind of laugh at it. That was a decade ago. And I think, oh, of course you had a plan and I didn't see it, Lord. So forgive me for being so short-sighted, but I just didn't know.
Well, you and I have a sweet connection through the Annie Moses. It's the music conservatory, I believe is what they call it. And Seth's sweet little girlfriend, teaches for them now too, but has worked with your daughters. And I grew up in South Carolina, but we had the Annie Moses Band come to our church.
You did.
And I will never forget how powerful that was.
Yes,
they were just amazing performers, but it wasn't just entertainment. It was worship.
It is.
And it's just amazing what they do as well.
Yes, they definitely showed us a deeper level of performing even songs that aren't specifically about God for the Lord, for His glory. Like everything they did was literally, I'm doing this as an offering before the Lord. And I had not seen that lived out quite like that. So it was revolutionary. It changed our entire family's focus. And then having Peachtree locally, we were able to plug in there and pour in what we were learning. And it's been really sweet to watch God weave all that together. It's really
Well, that's what I was just about to ask. I know we've talked about how the Lord's provided funding for you all, but how else have you seen God working through Peachtree?
I mean, the second location was absolutely an act of God. We had the idea through one of our teachers came to us and said this building is for sale. We had actually looked at it a couple of years before that, and it was for sale for 3 times what we ended up spending on it. But I still didn't have any money saved up to do anything like that. I'm still trying to pave the back parking lot here in Cookeville, but I went to the board. We all went down there. We prayed. We walked through the building and around the building. We prayed over it and just kept asking the Lord for direction. And that entire 3 months leading up to that, to the actual purchase, I would get up in the mornings and think, there's no way. There's no way this is meant to be. And then I would just say, I'm Gideon. I'm female Gideon. I need another fleece. Whatever it is, I need another fleece. And there would be somebody, every time I prayed that prayer, somebody would come up and say, like I had a lady come up randomly who lives in Sparta and say, I've been walking this building for a long time, walking this block, and I really think that something creative is supposed to happen there. Or another one, Lori came to me and said she had been praying and she had this dream recurring that she was going to have a studio with stained glass in it. Well, I walked into that building and the end classroom goes down the side of the building and there's literally stained glass in the corner. And I called her from that room and said, Lori, I think I might know where your studio is. Like it was things like that. It was things like that all summer leading up to us closing on the building and us having nothing saved for a down payment, no big endowment to work with. And yet we walked straight into owning that building in August and turned the key and started classes that fall. And this is our third fall, and we've got 100 or so students down there, and they're generally from a different area than the ones in Cookeville. We do have families that have gone down there because it's closer, or they didn't want to drive. People from there that were driving to Cookeville have gone there, but we've also reached a whole new group. And it's a beautiful space for performances. So we've put concerts in there. We had Andrew Peterson come there back in the spring and speak in that building. For some reason, I just felt like he was meant to be in Sparta. So he came and spoke there and did a concert at a church in Sparta. I feel like God is stretching us in spreading what he's doing, stretching us a little bit that way. So that was a huge thing. We still talk about that. That was kind of an Ebenezer Stone moment of, oh, wow, you're really going to take this on the road. And our teachers have space to do this. I never would have predicted that. So that was not of us at all. Yeah.
Well, how can people in our community support Peachtree?
Coming to events that we put on is always a huge blessing to us, just to see people appreciate what our students have done or what they're working on. It makes our students feel so excited to see people in the community coming and wanting to see what they're doing.
And they're fantastic performances, by the way.
I think
I've
do a
attended
great job.
over the years, and we have lots of friends that homeschool in our
Yeah.
church and different places, and I love to come watch them
Well, thank you.
worship, and really you all just do such a professional job.
Well, thank you. I love putting those together. Our next big one is in the spring, at the end of April. We've got our spring concert will be then, and also our Drama 3 has grown to the point that we give them their own show now, so they'll do a play in the spring. Our theme this year is America the Beautiful, so it'll be full of American music. We're going to have some Tom Sawyer moments and some Little Women moments and some American author
Well, what great timing
skits.
with the 250th birthday.
He's also in our themes, and so this theme kind of came to us out of the blue last year in the winter. I started thinking ahead about what to do for the next year, and a couple of people came and kind of poured in their ideas, and they were all synergistic with what I was already thinking. And then when I went to the board with that idea, one of the board members said, well, it's the 250th anniversary. Well, there you go. I think we're
Yeah.
going to do America, so that's what we're doing. So coming to shows is great. I mean, if people feel led to explore our website at peachtreelearningcenter.com,
and we'll have that on the
just-
screen
okay,
for
great.
everybody.
And then see something that they're drawn to and want to come volunteer. We are always looking for people to aid in classes. We generally draw on our high schoolers to do that, but it's always nice to have a few seasoned adults around too. And I mean, we're self-funded, so anytime we have any extra money at all, we always turn around and put it on a project that's on the list of things to do. So
Can people give
donations are
through the
great.
website, or do they just need to come by
No,
the building?
they can mail in a check, or they can
Okay.
call and make a donation, or they can. I mean, we've had people come and present donations, and that's fine. All of that works. We're pretty open.
Well, we appreciate all that you're doing to
thank
lead in
you.
our community and to serve and love not only homeschool families, but just families in our community.
Well, thank you.
And we love your mission. And
Thank you.
I love your mission.
That's
and
so
I love
sweet.
you.
Well, I love you too. Very grateful
And
for
I'm
you
so
too.
thankful for you being here.
Well,
I
thank
feel like
you.
we could talk the rest of the
I
afternoon.
know.
We have so many
Have that
things
same
that we
thing.
could. Yes,
We
yes.
could. I really appreciate what you're doing too. So thank you
Well,
for
thank you.
letting me come talk.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for listening and watching today, the Ordinary Brave podcast. And as you can see, bravery doesn't always have to be loud and proud and roaring, but it can just be simple, like serving behind the scenes and just loving families in your community like Tabitha has. And if you're enjoying this podcast, we ask that you please like it and share it with others. Have a great day.